Hello and welcome to this video. Today we're going to take a look at this beautiful uniform right here, which is essentially a British officer's World War II service dress, modified for Norwegian service. And just a quick backstory behind this. When the Norwegian army had to be rebuilt in Britain in 1940 after the capitulation, they originally wanted to make pre-war uniforms, but as you can probably understand, the plans for that were pretty early on scrapped. But especially with officers who had to leave their uniforms behind, or their uniforms were destroyed, or whatever, early on, their uniforms that they would have had tailored in Britain would have had a huge variety in different things on the uniform. So the cuffs varied a bit, the shape of the collars, or the lapels, if you will, or pretty much everything you can imagine. And as far as this uniform is concerned, it was officially adopted in the spring of 1941. Battle dress had officially been adopted for lower ranks in the autumn of 1940, and this would have remained in service up until the mid-1950s, and probably with some reserve officers up until the 60s or even 70s in some cases, but that may be stretching it a little bit. However, it was replaced in official service by the M56 uniform, which has a lot of similarities. The cloth is slightly more green in color, for example, and the hip pockets have pleats on them, and various other differences. But we're not talking about that today. We're talking about this, and this is a very interesting example because this has definitely been made during World War II. As is evidenced by some of the stuff I'm going to show you soon, and also because of the British parachutist wing, which I'm going to explain as we go along. So I forgot to mention that this uniform that I have in my collection includes the tunic, the trousers, which are on the coat hanger right here, and we also have a belt, standard belt made from the same material as the tunic. And just for the sake of interest, in use, these would have used the standard British service dress cap. This is a reproduction that does not belong to this uniform, that I've just put the appropriate cap badge on. This is a cap badge for officers up until colonel. Yeah, that's right. And just to show you, it still has British General Service buttons on it, which is authentic to see on originals. So with that being said, let's take a close look. Okay, so I'm going to try to be a little bit careful because this coat hanger doesn't hang on very well. But anyways, starting at the top here, we have 2 stars on each side, which stands for the rank of lieutenant or lieutenant if you're English. We can see a little bit of damage right here and here, but that's very minor, I have to say. There's not really a lot of damage to the fabric on this, except maybe a few stains that you can probably see. Moving on, we have the British periwings, which Norway didn't have their own periwings going into World War II or during World War II. It wasn't really until after the war that the Norwegian army made a distinct parachutist wing for parachutists or qualified parachutists. But people who had earned the British periwing in service during World War II were still entitled to wear it on their uniform for the duration of their service. This uniform was most likely belonged to a member of the Norwegian parachutist company in Great Britain, and the person who had this continued to serve at least a little while after World War II, because during World War II these would have had shoulder badges. Now you can see traces of them. Traces of them here. One on each side. On the left side here you would have had the Norge title, and on the other side you would have had a flag. But after the war they were taken out of service, so they would have been cut off. But as you can see, it's gone. So that's what makes me believe that this person continued to serve after the war. Moving on to the pockets, nothing really special here. as I said, this is really just a standard British service dress used in Norwegian service. Of course, later on they would remove the pleats and so on, simplify it a little bit, but that's not the case with this. Oh, and I forgot to mention, there are no shoulder straps, which is very common for the Norwegian models. There are some examples of shoulder straps, but they are more the exception than the rule, I suppose. And if we take a look at the buttons, they are brass buttons that have been oxidized. They are all made by Gaunt of London, and of course made during the war. These are definitely made during the war. Moving along, we can see there's a bit of a bigger gap between these two buttons than is between the others, which is to make way for the belt, which we can take a look at soon. Standard pockets, hip pockets, nothing special about those. Cuffs, familiar for those who are also familiar with British service dress. And there's nothing really special to take a look at the back there, just standard stuff. So let's move on to the trousers. Okay, so here we have the trousers folded nicely up. We have pockets on each side, obviously. And if we flip it a bit, you see 2 buttons to fasten them here, and 1 button here, and of course buttons on the rest of the front fly right here. We have pleats here, making it look smarter. The leg is nothing really special, it's just a straight leg. We have unfortunately some damage to the material here and some stains. However, it's not really bad at all. You would hardly notice this when you're actually wearing it. And moving on, here we have buttons for braces, 2 on the back and 2 on 2 on each side, of course. Yep. Very comfortable lining material, actually. This would be very comfortable to wear. And the quick comment on the fabric itself is very tightly woven Barathea cloth. So this would actually work very good even in more colder temperatures. Not sub-zero temperatures, but just, yeah. Another thing I want to say about this trouser is that I'm very doubtful that they belong to the Tunic originally. But I got these two together, so these trousers are actually big enough to fit me. It seems that they were made for someone who were actually slightly taller than me, which is unusual because I'm 185 centimeters tall, which is of course taller than most World War II soldiers and officers. Probably at one point they got mixed up with 2 uniforms got mixed up or something. I'm not really sure, but that's the way it is. Also the shade is slightly different between the tunic and the trousers, but it's very hard to notice. Okay, moving on to the belt. Okay, here we have the belt. Nothing really much to look at. It's very standard buckle and also these reinforced holes. You only have 3 sets of them, so this is obviously tailored for the individual. We have a hook here that goes onto this loop to kind of keep it in place and keep it so it doesn't sag or flop around in the wind or something. Yeah, that's actually pretty much it. Okay, so thank you guys for watching this video. It was very exciting to get this uniform finally. I've been looking for one for a very long time. Even if the tunic doesn't fit me, it's still nice to just have it as a display piece, and one day when I finally get the mannequin, I'm going to see if I can't put it on the mannequin. But anyways, thanks for watching again. As always, if you have any questions or comments, down below, or send me a DM on Instagram, which is in the channel bio. And until next time.